Welcome to Big Daddy Bakes. I'm Big Daddy, and today we're going to be making some Italian bread. You've probably bought that stuff in the grocery store they call Italian bread, and it may look like bread, but it really is kind of tasteless and not very good. Well, this will change your mind on how Italian bread should taste. It has a long fermentation period for making the biga the night before all the way through its risings, but it's worth the effort. So let's get to it, and I'll show you how to do it. To make the recipe, you will need, for the starter, you'll need 3/4 of a cup of all-purpose flour, half a cup of lukewarm water, and 1/8 of a teaspoon of instant yeast. You're going to mix this up, and it will form into a very soft dough, and cover it with plastic wrap and leave it out on the counter overnight, and you'll see it kind of bubble up and get to where it looks kind of sticky and bubbly. Then for the dough, you're going to need a packet of instant yeast, 3/4 cup of lukewarm water, that's at 105 degrees, 2 2/3 cup of all-purpose flour, and 1 teaspoon of yeast. And then finally, you're going to need an egg white with a tablespoon of water and sesame seeds for the topping. Alright, to make this recipe, I'm going to put the water. I just temped it and it was at 105 degrees. I'm going to add the yeast and just whisk that for a moment to dissolve the yeast. Then I'm going to add the starter that I created yesterday. This overnight starter really gives the bread a really nice flavor, and it's useful for many recipes to do this. Most French bread recipes and others all use the same sort of tactic. Then I'm going to add all but a little bit of my flour. I'm going to retain about half a cup, and I may use it or I may not. And then on top of the flour, I'm going to add my salt. And I'll let this go for a minute or two, and we'll see how much more flour we need. Okay, so I noticed it had taken that flour and it needed more. It was just a sticky mess, so I think today's going to be those days where I use every bit of the flour. Now I'm going to let this knead for 8 minutes once the flour is incorporated, and we should have a very nice soft dough when it's done. Okay, our dough has kneaded for 8 minutes or so. Okay, our dough is kneaded, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold it in on itself. And then I'm going to let the board form it into a nice round like this. I've got a greased bowl here. I used some spray oil in it. So I'm going to go at the top, flip it over, and I'm going to let this rise for 60 minutes up until 90 minutes. It might take that long to get to the height that I want it. It'll be double in size. And if you poke it, it will fill back in very slowly. That's how you know that it's proofed enough. But in this case, I think double in bulk will give us what we need. so my dough has been rising for an hour. I've punched out all the air in it, and I'm going to divide it into 3 pieces, and they should equal out pretty much. I think that'd be good. And then we're going to roll out a nice long roll. Out of each piece. So we're going to tuck, and then we're just going to do a simple braid over and over, 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 over. All right. Now I'm going to put this on a sheet tray, and I'm going to let it rise for 45 minutes to an hour, and it'll be very puffy, and then I'm going to do the topping. Alright, so our dough is puffy and it's risen. It took about 45 minutes. And so this is my egg wash. I'm going to brush it liberally all over. This will do 2 things. It's glue that will hold the sesame seeds on, and it will also help browning. If you want a very dark brown, you can use the whole egg, and it will. All right. Now I have my oven at 425. Preheating to 425, and then I have sesame seeds, and I'm going to sprinkle them liberally. You want lots of sunflower seeds. Excuse me, sesame seeds. I think I'm in another world. Now I'm going to bake this for about 30 minutes, and then I'll come back and show you the results. Alright, here is our bread after it came out of the oven. It's beautifully golden brown, and it just smells heavenly. It's a really delicious bread, and you should try this one. Thank you for being with us here on Big Daddy Bakes today. Part of the reason I did the video this way is to show you that even though you have everything perfect, sometimes it just doesn't work. And you just have to learn how the dough feels, if it's too sticky or it's just not going to hold together. My braid in this particular one was perfect. It looks exactly like I wanted it to look. But, you know, there are failures. And if you make a failure, it's still going to taste good. It may not be pretty, but you slice that up and make garlic bread out of it, and nobody's going to know anyway. So thank you so much for joining me here on Big Daddy Bakes. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing. Also give it a like if you can, and also give me any comments. I'm really happy to hear from the people that watch the channel. Thank you so much. Texture on the outside, it's covered with